India and South Africa served an absolute delicacy in the festive season. Kohli got runs, Philander got wickets, Philander got runs, Pujara got runs. Morning Morkel went off in pain, but Santa's given him a gift to come back and play the second test. Kohli and Pujara thought they outbatted South Africa, but AB and Faf had other things in mind. Faf ran down the clock and eventually ran himself out. At the end of day 5 of an absorbing test match, nobody went home a loser. And the big number is 4 because that's where we're looking at. In Durban, South Africa have lost 4 test matches there since Jan 2009. Only Bangladesh have lost more matches at a home ground in test cricket. Well, hello and welcome to Amazon.in presents Match Point here on ESPNcricinfo. And after an absorbing first test match, after the Christmas celebration, Sanjay, Manjrekar and Daryll Cullinan are with me. Gentlemen, big welcome to you. But even before I get your first comments on the game, we do know India have won the toss. They will be batting, and there are 2 changes to both teams. And this is one that focuses on a lot of discussion on what we're going to talk about. The slower bowlers, the spinners, call it what you want, Daryll Cullinan. Robin Peterson plays for South Africa, replacing Imran Tahir. Ravindra Jadeja plays for India, replacing Ravichandran Ashwin. These are your first team changes. Sanjay, first word on the team itself.
Good cricketing selection. And again, Dhoni has shown, as he has done in this series, that he's not going so much by, track record, how the player is going to feel, that he's getting dropped. He picked Ishant Sharma because he thought on that Wanderers pitch that it's going to be a pitch that will help Ishant Sharma. So he didn't care about Bhuvaneshwar Kumar's track record, pick Ishant Sharma ahead of him. Here again, he's seen Ashwin's performance in the last test. He reckons this pitch has got a bit of turn. Who will exploit this pitch better, Ashwin or Jadeja? And he's gone ahead of Pragyan Oja, Amit Mishra, Ashwin to get Jadeja. I like the selection because I've got a lot of respect for Ravindra Jadeja as a left-arm spinner in Test match cricket. Okay,
Daryll, your thoughts on the South African team. Robin Peterson comes in for Tahir. Is that surprising?
No, it's not. Tahir didn't have a good first Test match, and I think it was an obvious decision to go for another option, being left arm as well. Peterson's never really known to have been a big turner of the ball, but he'll offer a lot more consistency. He's good in the field and pretty useful batsman as well.
Okay, now that's a reflection of what Durban can offer. It's not traditionally the Durban of the old where there was pace and bounce. Spinners have done well at Kingsmead. Take a look at how the spinners have fared. This is spinners in each venue across the world outside the subcontinent. And if you take Sabina Park out of that, 12 matches, or rather 12 innings and 96 wickets. The Durban pitch offers quite a lot to spinners. Daryll, take us through the change in the nature of this pitch over the recent times and what's that attributed to?
It's been very surprising because during the 90s it was known for its pace and bounce. South Africa had the likes of Donald, and there was Schultz, and there was de Villiers, the likes of Steyn. He probably featured a bit later than that. And it has to do, I understand, from the nature of the grass. There's 2 types of grass, and they're playing particularly this Test match on the Bayview, and the dryness comes into it as well. But at home, you don't want a venue to suit sides coming to South Africa that have got a good spin attack.
Sanjay, India have won the toss and batted first. From what look you got of the pitch, of course it's sitting far away from here, but as someone who's not familiar with South Africa, as MS Dhoni would as well, just looking at the pitch, he's gone to bat first. From what Sean Pollock gave of the pitch report that we saw, what do you make of that decision?
Good decision, and as Sean Pollock said in his pitch report there, that it's a no-brainer. And of course, one of the problems that curators have is when there is uncertain weather around. What they're really scared of, curator is putting too much water in. Just in case the sun doesn't come out. So they always sort of err on the side of the pitch turning out to be a bit too dry, and that might just help India. But again, he's won an important toss. You want to bat first on a pitch like this because there's nothing there to suggest that there's going to be plenty of seam movement and things like that. It's amazing how the pitch also has changed over the years, because there was a time when I faced one of the quickest deliveries in my cricketing career at Durban. People like Alan Donald, Brett Schultz, and here we are talking about a pitch that aids spinners. So things change in life.
Well, I think the message is that they need to get rid of the groundsman, because perhaps he's not been communicated where South Africa have their strengths. We know that the home side can't interfere in terms of the home preparation. But going to the toss, I mean, since 2009, well, in all cricket, 2000, I speak under correction, sorry, 9 matches, side having won the toss and batted first, they've won 4. Bowling first, 11 matches, they've won 4. So at face value, that it says bat first, but it doesn't necessarily influence the outcome of the match.
So I'll ask you one thing. This is something that a lot of teams do that are naturally not producing quality spin. Because the surface has something for the spinners, does it make sense for South Africa to pick a spinner for the sake of it, or even on a pitch like this, a fourth seamer?
Well, one thing
India would like to bat against Peterson more than a fourth seamer on this kind of a pitch.
He's not going to offer you what traditionally the top spinners do, which is huge spin. One of the worst things you can do as a captain is play a bad spinner. You don't just play a spinner for the sake of it. You've got to be confident, if he's your fourth bowler, that he's going to have an impact on the match. It may just mean that it gives the Indian batsman relief. It may mean that they look to attack Peterson and get out. I mean, he's played a lot of cricket. He's not a fool when it comes to the ball. He'll have clear plans. He offers Grainsmith the opportunity to bowl, I guess, as Jadeja
so
does.
Is he a good spinner, good South African spinner, or good spinner for India, or is a bad spinner an average spinner for Indian batting?
I don't think we've really had the option. The one who may turn it more is Duminy. Let's not forget that he can bowl a lot of overs. But at face value, if you look at both of them, they're not match winners. I may be wrong. You wouldn't back them to be. They're certainly not amongst the best of all time. I think it's probably more than anything a defensive move by South Africa. He can do a holding job in the hope that both he and Duminy can pick up wickets. But if you look at the two, you've got to back the Indian batsman to play well against them.
All right, good stuff. Okay, now the spinners are the big talking points here because both teams have made changes to their teams with regard to spinners that are playing. What kind of spinners have actually done well at Kingsmead? If you take a look, these are the personnel we're talking about. Daryll Cullinan, your good friend Shane Keith Vaughan has got wickets there. Nicky Boye, well, it's more about the quantity he's played more than anything else. Murli, Herath, Grant Swan and Harbhajan Singh. It doesn't specifically aid a type of bowler as such. Daryll, what can you draw from these names?
I think they've all been turners, probably except Nicky. I think the key to note there is the average. Now that tells a story in itself. But Vaughan was a turner of the ball. Muralitharan, Herath, probably not as big as them. Swan has turned it. Harbhajan has been a fair turner, and I think spinners too. If you look at those, they offer variations as well. So you can't just be a one-dimensional. Not a Peterson who's not going to offer you much.
The last trip, that India, the last tour to South Africa, they won in Durban, and Harbhajan Singh played quite a part there. In the second inning, what's to be noted, is bowled 30 overs in the second innings in that test match that India won. And the next highest, the seamers were bowling around 11, 16, 17 overs. So huge spin element for India in the last test there.
When you look at that number, Rangana Herath's got wickets there recently. Is Herath the kind of bowler who by nature is similar to Jadeja?
No, Jadeja is different. Herath is slightly slower in the air, but you've seen after Ashwin's performance in the first test, there's no ready-made spin in the pitch like you have ready-made shirts. There's no ready-made spin in the bounce for spinners. You have to extract something. That's where I think Jadeja will come into play as a strong left-arm spinner. And I thought he got a slightly raw deal, after his good performances against Australia. Of course, there was the injury angle as well.
Correct.
He missed out a great opportunity against West Indies. Look at versus Australia. Look at that average. 17.4 and 24 wickets. So for me, he was India's best spinner in that series that India won 4-0. Injury, forced him out of the last two test matches. So I'm very happy that Dhoni is gone for this selection.
But let's remember that's at home. You speak under correction.
Yes, and lots of turns.
It is very much so.
So Durban's going to be maybe a different proposition, but just backing up the comparisons. Since 2009, both overseas and South African spinners have virtually bowled the same overs, but they've taken 29 wickets. Okay. And what South Africa has had to offer has only taken 11 at an average of 58 versus the overseas spinners at an average of 17.51.
Well, those are numbers that raise a few eyebrows. Now, what's it going to be like with regard to the weather? Daryll Cullinan feels that the weather is going to play a part in this test match. Take a look at the forecast for the next few days. And you could see that there is a chance of rain today. There's a slight chance of rain tomorrow. Saturday seems okay. Daryll, you're worried a little about Sunday as well. Is it usually the kind of time in year where you will have a few showers as the day goes on?
Absolutely. It's my biggest fear going into this test match was would the weather play its part. The other thing besides the rain is Kingsmead is known for light issues. It's right alongside the coast and you get those clouds which roll over the ground. And I've played a test match there. We've been off the ground at 3 o'clock and the lights get to a point where they don't assist either side.
Well, the onus is on both captains now. If rain and bad light is going to play a part, they better bowl their overs on time and give us a full test match. Last thing we want to see is this playing a part in the final result. The pitch was seen more closely by Rahul Dravid, who is in Kingsmead, and this is what he had to say when he took his look at it and gave a reaction. Sid Monga caught up with him. Here's what Rahul had to say.
From what I see, it's not only about the bowlers being overworked. I think from what everyone has been saying, the wicket here looks a little bit slower and not as green as we have come to expect, at Kingsmead and Durban in the past. So just having said that, yes, I think India took a brave decision by batting at the Wanderers, which I think worked out really well for them. So I wouldn't be scared to take that same option.
Okay, so that's Rahul on the pitch. Now, the interesting element also is, Daryll, the timing of how the pitch plays and what it does when. South Africa bowling on day one. Now, if we just look at that pitch and we see when is it likely to give us the most surprises, when are the spinners going to be assisted the most? Will Peterson have anything on day one?
Probably not. But looking at which days where batting is difficult, it's surprisingly on day two. And then gets better as the test match goes on. But I can't help thinking, they've got to seriously look at the grounds. How can you come to a venue at home and it plays into the hands of the opposition?
We do it sometimes. At Nagpur, we used to prepare some lively pitches for opposition, but generally, you're right.
But once every 15 years.
Yeah, once every 25, maybe.
It's the festive season, Daryll. This is what South Africa are offering India on Boxing Day. It's actually called the Day of Goodwill in South Africa. I just read something. 1994, they renamed Boxing Day.
They're going to get a lot of goodwill from a billion Indians.
Look, if South Africa gifted India, it was by drawing the first test match, which, just for a moment there, it would have been no shame if they have lost that one. Maybe they look back, would that opportunity to win a test match have impacted on the series outcome?
Now, that is one of two major talking points. The fact that they've come out of a test match that is so very absorbing, but as if the test match itself didn't give us enough incident, Christmas Day presented us with some rather surprising news. Daryll Cullinan said it was sudden. South Africa's Jacques of all trades has called it a day in test match cricket after this one. Quick thought, I spoke to Daryll about it, Sanjay. What does Jacques Kallis going from the test match team do to South Africa, and particularly in this test match as well?
I think it was unexpected. We were there in the show talking about Kallis's career, where it's heading. He had a tough test match, the last one. He looked very tired and things like that. So this has taken everyone by surprise. I've just looked at a guy who's done everything, as you said, Jacques of all trades, and did that quite well. So when I look at Jacques Kallis, I look at somebody who's the true Mr. Cricket. Scored runs, got wickets, took some very important catches. And as a guy who focuses a bit on technique, he had a wonderful technique when he batted, and a guy whose greatness sneaked up on us slowly by the sheer weightage of numbers, isn't it?
What does it do, Daryll, to the team itself? Would they be motivated that this is Kallis's last test, we need to give him a good send-off? Or would it then sink in that we're losing somebody major in the team, and as it comes sudden and too quickly for them to react as well one day before the test match?
I think they'll only know, as will all of us, how good he's been once he's gone. But it will definitely be of extra motivation to the South African side. They want to give him a big send-off. Just on the retirement, we saw recently Tendulkar, as we know. And I can't help feeling as a South African gripped by similar emotions. We've seen the end of one of the truly great careers.
And you talked about his potential, didn't you? This South African selectors spotted potential in this guy, because the first 10 test matches were a bit of a struggle.
Absolutely. He burst on the scene. You can see that the man had potential. He was destined for greatness, blessed with a wonderful physique. He bowled in those early days as quick as anyone. But there was a grace and elegance, his temperament when he came into the side. You just knew that the overall package, that this guy was going to be a very special cricketer.
The numbers that we are talking about, the first 10 test matches, now it wasn't great for Jacques Kallis, wasn't the dream star, averages under 23. In contrast, you could see how the big boys did in that same generation. Tells you a lot about the credit given to other people who played a role in persisting with Kallis.
Yes, his turning point was probably Melbourne, where in saving the test match he got a brilliant 100 for South Africa. He was beyond his years at that stage, but it hurt, and particularly with a guy like him. Then he got back to South Africa home ground, and he had a wonderful test match at Newlands, and that just kick-started his career.
Okay, now as we're fast approaching live action on day one, the one thing we need to look back is the circumstances in which this team comes, both these teams enter the second test match, and that was the first test match. That was the biggest circumstance. It was mentally exhausting, emotionally, physically, and I don't know how many other releases it was, but the big question is, which team has the resolve to actually bounce back, and what will it take to bounce back after that kind of test match? Sanjay?
I think Indians will have a lot more self-belief coming into this test match. The pitch will help their cause, much to Daryll Cullinan's anguish. But the point I want to make is a very interesting one, is where, South Africa historically have bowled outside the off-stump to the Indians. And, the Indians have fallen to that, bait where they are fished outside the off-stump. They got a bit of a surprise, this South African bowlers, when the Indian didn't go for those balls outside the off-stump. India won. Or rather, drew that test match. The batting was so good because they left balls alone. They were getting onto the front foot. But I still want to see the South Africans start off against the Indian batsmen, bowling outside the off stump, to still see whether they have the same kind of resistance to temptation, which is a natural temptation for them.
So, Daryll, for South Africa, a feel-good factor going into this one, that they got out of it. And I heard a lot of people actually say in the office as well that if you back to start a match all over again, you'd fancy again South Africa to beat India, because that was what it was before the test. India had surprised people by playing as well for 4.5 days.
I don't think either side can believe that they have the upper hand. We've seen sides come before, and you got the idea in the first test match, let them get around the country. We've softened them up, and you can see who the clear win is going to be. I don't think India can feel that they don't have a chance to win this test match. South Africa will feel, looking at their side, that they're not necessarily going to be the top side come day 4 or 5, wherever it takes us. But physically, I think today the guys are very fit, so they can pick themselves up. For me, it's that mental rejuvenation. South Africa really look forward to having India at home. It was built up the whole series, and now over this festive season, I know from past experiences, we would have the family and the families and the children over celebrating Christmas Day. How does that impact on the side? They didn't want to lose the first one. That was overriding in their thinking. So they treasure and they value this series tremendously. They don't want to be at the end at the losing at the end of this test match. So a lot to play for. I just wonder, that's the big question, which side mentally can pick themselves up the most and play winning cricket?
And that you speak about how it won't be as much of an issue about physical fitness, but Manjrekar plays this game. We do know that he had a grade 1 ankle sprain. It was suspected to take 7 to 10 days. Now he is playing. Of course, a lot of people would have put in a lot of work on it. Would you have just rested him, considering Australia come home in a little over a month, or have they just done the right thing by playing their best team?
Well, they've got to be 100% sure that he can get through the test match. They don't want to find themselves in a situation where he breaks down. I mean, that's the concern. Looking ahead, I don't think that's the immediate issue.
Yeah, all right. Last words, gentlemen. Now, we do know how big a role Jacques Kallis is going to play, especially in this last test match. Emotionally, an occasion for somebody like Kallis as well to perform. He's not done too well of late, but what does Jacques Kallis go into this game looking at it?
Yeah, those are his batting averages in the years, and those are, impressive figures.
2013, yeah, that's the one that stands out in contrast.
And maybe it may have contributed to the decision as well. But, once you take that decision, the pressure is off. You could see Tendulkar in the final test match. He was looking so relaxed. And if you watch all those, reality singing contests where the participants, when they're knocked out, by votes, they've been kicked out of the competition, they give their best rendition. When they have lost, there's nothing at stake. You might see the best of Jacques Kallis that you've seen in a while once he has taken that decision.
I think we will, simply because he knew that he was going to announce his retirement. That second innings at the Wanderers, he played beautifully. And he struck some crisp boundaries then. So
before Tucker got him out.
Yeah, so I think we'll see a lot of emotion just unfold, and Kallis just enjoying himself. Put some money on 100 from him. I'm pretty keen to do that.
Life's come around cycle. Jacques Kallis made his debut at Kingsmead in Durban. That's where he will give his final hurrah in at least the whites of Test match cricket. As we look to the first session, Sanjay, Indian batsmen, what is it that they come out with? Vijay and Dhawan aren't amongst the kind of runs that Kohli and Pujara are. Is there a little bit of pressure, or is that not standing in a 2-test series?
Let's take individual batsmen. Shikhar Dhawan, I think, will be under more pressure than Murli Vijay. Murli Vijay in the second innings spent a lot of time out there. His issue is going to be, where do I score my runs and not put too much pressure on himself. Shikhar Dhawan has got some issues with bounce, especially the one that's directed at him? Is he going to take the defensive approach, duck under the ball, or is he going to glide it over the stump? Because the hook shot, I don't think gets into a great position. But after them, you're looking at two guys in tremendous form. Rohit Sharma, I think, has the game for this kind of a surface and bowling. Ajinkya Rahane has some self-confidence going. So not too worried about the Indian batting apart from Dhawan at the top.
Daryll?
A lot of things to take into account, but for me what's going to be big this first session is how the pitch plays.
Yeah, you love these pitches in South Africa. That's the key. And Daryll Cullinan's prophecy has been dead right in the past. Okay, we're fast approaching live action now, and we can quickly just confirm that from the pictures that we're seeing as well, Shah Kallis has received a lovely little guard of honour as he walks out for the first day of his final Test match. It should be an emotional time. Indians would be well aware of what emotion is like when one of your great cricketers happens to leave the game. Let's see what King Kallis does on day one. He's probably going to have to bowl as hard as it's been for somebody like him. Daryll and Sanjay will be back with me at lunch to review what the first session is going to be like. Tweet us with your questions, #matchpoint, and lunchtime is when we'll get together to answer them. Until then, enjoy the first session of play. It starts all over again. Let's have a cracker, let's hope.